Have the party adopt a lovely familiar like a loyal dog or a trustworthy horse.
Jalupi said, don't be afraid to kill your players.
You should never buy anything other than a regular healing potion.
Well, hello there, adventurers. This is Derek. Over the past few days, I've been gathering in the wild some choice TikTok videos for me to share with you. So get a cup of coffee, I've got mine right here, and let's watch this debauchery of the internet that we call TikTok.
When you're buying healing potions in D&D, you should never buy anything other than a regular healing potion. Because what do you mean that for 50 gold, I can get a regular healing potion which does 2d4 plus 2 healing, but for 250 gold, I can get a healing potion that gets me 4d4 plus 4 healing? Yeah, okay, it's double, but honestly, I could just buy 2 regular healing potions, spend 100 gold, and get the exact same amount of healing. Now, wait a second. I have to use an action to take both potions. Okay, fine, but you could just buy 2 and combine them together in a vial and then take the vial, and it's essentially the same thing. And if you're going to tell me...
Yeah, I mean, I was with him until he said he was going to put 2 potions in the same vial. With that logic, why wouldn't I combine 10 potions in like something like this? Like a cup of potion of healing? Why wouldn't I do that and just go back to full health?
Me it's not, well, I think you're wrong, because you're just drinking more of a regular healing potion, and you'd get the same amount of healing if you just took 2 actions to do it. It doesn't make sense. And healing potions are only an ounce anyway, so you're just doing a double shot of healing potion, which should get you double healing. That doesn't make any financial sense, and you shouldn't buy them. Just buy 2 regular healing potions for 50 gold and put them in a vial and drink that instead of trying to buy a greater healing potion.
So that reminds me of something that one of my players tried to do like 20 years ago. Now, this was in the olden times of 3rd edition, and I was a newbie DM, and I remember that one of my best friends was role-playing a barbarian, and he had this crazy idea. He had something like a shoulder belt fashioned. It had many compartments, so he would place all the vials there. His crazy rationale back then was that he had crystal vials like those you use for syringes, so he would just break them, and what was left was just jagged glass. And he would just like inject them, like just stick the glass into his neck's skin, well, the barbarians. And he argued that that way he could inject himself with 3 or 4 potions even with one single action. Being the newbie GM that I was back then, I allowed it, and that made for some crazy cinematic scenes. Then again here, if we see the comments, there's this one right here that says, how many regular potions do I need to fill a milk jug? That would be, I guess, like a gallon of potion of healing. Mixing 2 potions causes them to explode. This person here says, this guy says, this right here is exactly what gives rules lawyers a bad rep.
These are 3 types of Dungeons & Dragons players that need to be protected at all costs. Number 1, the player that remembers all of that really annoying stuff during combat that the DM is likely to forget, but they aren't a dick about it. I actually did forget that the enemy had the restrained condition. Thanks for letting me know. Number 2, the player that hams up their reaction for the big story moments. A dramatic gasp at the villain reveal. An unrestrained no at the death of Fartbuckle the Goblin, and so on. I know that you're at least partly doing it just for me, the DM, but it still kind of makes me feel good, so. Number 3, the player that initiates roleplay. Oh my god, I love you guys. Being able to sit back and watch some player character roleplay as the DM, that is the Wagyu steak of tabletop roleplay, baby. What do you think? Did I miss any? Let me know. These are 3 types of Dungeons & Dragons players that need to be...
He's right about those 3. In my case, I've been a forever GM for a while, mostly forever. And one of the players in my games is my brother. And he kinda is the 3 of these, plus a rules lawyer. Then here in the comments, there's this guy that says, the player that doesn't wait for all the negotiation to just run into trouble. I love that. Then here the practical GM comments, The player who pulls the lever or grabs the treasure or opens the door or just takes definitive action of some sort. And that is important because in many games, sometimes you have 3 to 5 players and all of them are struggling to make a decision and just do something. And then there's someone who is just a tad bit more impulsive than the rest and up they go. And they actually do something and move the game forward.
Unethical Dungeon Master advice. Have the party adopt a lovely familiar like a loyal dog or a trustworthy horse, and then, in the end game, have it be that their familiar pet was in fact a spy for the BBEG, and it turns on them. Watch their poor little hearts break.
This is one of those crazy GM moves that you can do, like, for example, having a close ally actually be the BBEG or be a spy for the villain, or the trusty innkeeper was actually a cultist or something like that. It's a useful storytelling tool that should not be abused. You can do it from time to time, so it has impact. But if you abuse this technique, then the players lose trust in everyone. And now they do not get attached to anyone because they think that when that happens, you as the GM use it against them. And if that's happening, it's because you've been doing it. And now you have this dynamic, which is not useful. This content is sponsored by you. Elven Tower Adventures is more than maps, stories, and quests. We're a fellowship. Your voice matters, and we want to create the best content for you. The best way to support our work is by subscribing to our Patreon page. Who knows? Perhaps our Dungeon Vault magazine could become your every game's companion. Or maybe our hundreds of maps and adventures are just what your imagination needs to take your games to the next level. Don't just play D&D, conquer it. This next video is about a homebrew spell called, as you can see here, Summon a Guy. Just a random guy. I'll let this person explain it.
So this first level spell is called Summon a Guy, which quite literally, embrace yourself, summons a guy.
Just a normal guy.
Not a soldier, not a wizard, not a fighter, just a dude. Now the guy in question is friendly unless attacked, and they will obey your commands as long as it doesn't put their life in danger. My favorite thing about this spell though is that they will answer any questions about their personal life, which to me seems to suggest that this isn't just some magical guy that's being created out of thin air, but rather this is literally just some guy, some dude who was probably chilling at the pub with his boys before being teleported randomly to your group of players. Oh, by the way, he doesn't disappear until he's either killed or until the full hour has run out, which means that if you break concentration before either of those things happen, the guy goes into a panic. Very cool spell, 10 out of 10.
Which does remind me that when you use summoning spells to bring about animals or fake creatures or elementals or whatever, these beings are not coming out of thin air. They are coming from somewhere else. They are living creatures that are summoned by your spell and then bound in some way with some conditions to your service. You summon the guy, he has to do whatever you want, as long as it doesn't endanger him. So you could summon this average Joe and just tell him, you know what, do my taxes. In the previous TikTok reaction video I did, Axel left a very nice comment. He says, very nice, enjoyable video. Can't wait for more longer form content. Well, thank you very much, Axel. If you want me to feature your comment, please just leave a comment right here. And if you see some cool TTRPG content that I might feature in my channel, well, please just send it over.
Your DM's brain isn't supposed to handle what it's doing. It's multitasking beyond human limits. Send this video to your DM to tell them to take a long rest, because they've definitely earned it. When a dungeon master runs a game, their brain is performing one of the most demanding cognitive tasks imaginable. They're juggling storylines, characters, emotions, player decisions, and game mechanics, all at once, while trying to make it look effortless. All of that is cognitive load. And psychologists have found that humans...
That said, you only manage to make it look effortless if you're pretty good. Otherwise, it usually looks like the person is just juggling too many balls.
can typically hold around 4 things and working memories at a time. Your DM is tracking about 40. They're also using theory of mind, like pros, constantly predicting what each player might think, feel, or do next. That's the same skill that therapists and negotiators rely on, except DMs are doing it live with added dice chaos. So if your DM ever looks fried after a session, it's because they probably are. They've basically run a 4-hour social simulation inside their brain, while voice acting.
And then there's this comment by Donnie Spencer that says, my GM runs a constantly evolving website and a living world where all the NPCs have full lives. Like I'm envisioning an Obsidian side of some kind. It sounds crazy. It says he never turns it off because he has to factor in an entire town of parasocial interactions. He's the best. He is demented. How can you even pull that off? There's this other comment that says, as a GM with ADHD, this is one of the very few times that my brain is operating as it is intended. I come out of a 5-6 hour session clear-minded and fully energized. That's great.
The Dungeon Master, you should be trying to kill your players' characters. This is D&D Hot Takes, episode 15. So look, as a blunt statement, I disagree with that. I do not think that your goal as the DM should be to end your players' characters. However, I'm not just going to outright say that I think they are wrong, and Jalopy said don't be afraid to kill your players, and I agree. I mean, I hope that Jalopy meant don't be afraid to kill your players' characters, not the players. You know what? No.
I mean, there's all kinds of games. Maybe he does really mean don't be afraid to kill the players.
Concerning character deaths, obviously it's really important to actually talk to your players about what is fun for them. That's what session 0 is for. But I think there can be a real hesitation for DMs to have a player character perish mid-campaign when they've already done so much and they have so much.
I mean, in a way, it's kind of like a balance. As the GM, you are in charge of setting a considerable challenge for the characters. However, you incur the risk of maybe going a little bit too far and then getting a player killed. Or if you go too far, you get a TPK. The real secret is have the challenge be high enough that the risk of character death is a definite possibility, but that the characters have a chance to revert this risk with their actions. Sometimes they can do it, sometimes they mess up, sometimes the dice betray you, the GM, or they, the players, and someone gets killed. A character, not a player, and that's fine. Now here in the comments, Dobby never meant to kill, only maim or seriously injure. If they won't kill my character, then why even bother with combat? And he's right about that. Not real or challenge if you cannot die. Sometimes RNG just isn't on your side. Kay says, pretty much my exact philosophy on it. If death isn't a potential consequence, then you are limiting the stakes of what is happening. Yes. And that is one of the problems that I have with the more recent edition of D&D, because getting the level of danger to a point where death is an actual thing that could happen is not easy to do after level 5, level 7. Characters get very, very powerful. And that's fine, but then the stakes, it's difficult to raise the stakes without grinding combat to a halt. Thank you for watching. Perhaps I'll gather some more choice TikTok videos for you for the next video. My name is Derek and this is Elven Tower Adventures.